Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, or The Flash, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But yeah, we're approaching the 1 year mark of The Flash coming to an end after its 9th season. Crazy, doesn't feel like it. Like we're still about like a few weeks, I think. Off the top of my head, I think we're a few weeks at the very least. But we also just recently passed the milestone, or at least important moment, of April 25th, 2024. Probably last week by the time this video comes out, at least a few days ago. That date, of course, being the original set date that the Flash would go missing, vanishing in Crisis. Now, that was a part of a larger storyline that could have played out. A lot of people were wondering what they might have or could have done in season 10 if that happened, around that date. Obviously, things changed in the show, but they could have done something interesting nonetheless to sort of play into that without necessarily recreating it, maybe an alternate timeline visit, I don't know. But in this video, we are going to go over the top storylines from The Flash from seasons 1 through to 9. Now, this will be a top 5. I could have done a top 10 potentially, but when I was doing it and organizing, I felt like there were just some in there that many wouldn't consider a, top storyline, just a storyline, not a top storyline, doesn't deserve to be in a top list. So I thought I'd just narrow it down to 5, while also including some honorable mentions along the way, which we'll bring up throughout the video at some point. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on this stuff. What would you consider your favorite storyline from the show? Maybe leave a top 3, maybe leave a top 5 like I have, whether it's ones that I mentioned or ones that I didn't mention at all, because there might be one that you're like, hey, idiot, why didn't you include this one? So if you have one, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. But yeah, as you'd expect in a countdown, especially a top 5 countdown, we will be starting at number 5 and then going through down to number 1. So at number 5, I have the Bloodwork storyline from season 6, right? The first half of season 6, which also did serve as like a lead up to Crisis because it did play into Barry's fears of what was coming and everything like that. And just sort of Bloodwork playing into enhancing that and manipulating them to his benefit against Barry and also just Team Flash as a whole. But this storyline, I think, took many by surprise in regards to its qualities, especially the climax of it. I thought that was really well done, and it just not only played really well, into the Flash show as a whole and some of the stuff that had come before this storyline in previous seasons, but as I said, it worked really well as a lead into Crisis. Now, I think the only downside of the story is that we were meant to see like a continuation of sorts in either the really late parts of season 6 or in season 7, but the COVID pandemic scrapped the end of filming, like some of the later parts of filming for season 6, and then of course it was just harder to get people into film season 7 stuff. So it appears that they scrapped what they were planning there originally, unfortunately, but we did get to see Bloodwork return in the final season for a really cool episode, some people's favorite episode of the final season. But at number 4, I have the Savatar storyline from season 3. Maybe controversial, as some might have it higher, but I just feel it waned off a bit at the end and just wasn't exciting as it was at the start, but still enjoyable. And the mystery of Savatar and what else could, play out was exciting to watch. But yeah, maybe on like a rewatch, which I'm still yet to do, it might come across better, but I am just basing this off my memory from the first time watching it. But the grip that the storyline had on viewers was massive. This, of course, following on from the season 2 storyline, which did similar things due to the mystery identity sort of thing, making viewers wonder for a very long time. But some of my favorite moments with the show involve this storyline and, just the time watching and talking about it as well. So I think this easily is a top storyline, whether it's number 4, number 5 in people's lists, or even maybe in your top 3. But before we get into the top 3, decent segue by me, I do have some honorable mentions, if I can speak English. I have 4 here. The first one is a weird one because I count it as one storyline because I think one connects to the other, though this season has it's very connective in regards to the different aspects. So I have the Flashpoint / Dr. Alchemy storyline from season 3. Now, the reason I have that is because Dr. Alchemy was playing into the Flashpoint thing and sort of turning the people that were metahumans in the Flashpoint timeline into metahumans in this other time, or a normal timeline, if you want to put it that way, or the the new normal timeline that was alternate but normal at the same time. Does that make sense? Post Flashpoint. Am I an idiot? That's the word, post Flashpoint. But anyway, he was changing people, so they sort of tied together, and then of course that ended up tying into Savatar. It was very well connected, but I do feel like that was its own storyline, like almost like a villain of the week thing, but it also tied together with Dr. Alchemy thing. That was really enjoyable week to week and see how it played out. And of course, you just can include the Flashpoint parts there as well in their own. The next one is one I really like, and if I did like a top 10, this probably would be, I think it might be 6, if I'm being completely honest. It probably just misses out on the top 5, and that's the Thinker storyline from season 4. I think this is a really well done storyline. I just think it's the only error in my opinion, which people would probably agree with, because some people think it's like a killer, like it kills the season. I just think it's it's a blip in the season, and it just makes like 3 to 4 of the episodes a bit boring to watch. Was the constant body swapping. That was the only thing I was like, oh my god, okay, we get it, he body swaps. And it wasn't necessarily that it was just the Thinker constantly body swapping, but you were dealing with someone that the Thinker was in. Like, he was in their body, but you have to deal with a different actor. You're not dealing with Neil Sandilands, who was so good as Clifford DeVoe or the Thinker. So it was just inconsistent in regards to that. So that's the only blip in my opinion. But I really like the storyline. I like the backstory, how it plays out in the current day, the different aspects in the finale as well. I think it's really well done. So yeah, it just misses out on my top 5. I think it probably would be 6 if I did a top 10. The second last honorable mention is the Negative Forces arc from season 8. People might be like, what, really? This deserves an honorable mention? I think this storyline is actually pretty good. I think it's actually a really, really, really solid storyline for the end of season 8. The biggest issue is the finale of this season is not very good, which is the finale for this storyline. It's actually probably one of the worstest season finales, I want to say, for a season of The Flash. It's just pretty damn weak and pretty silly as well. But I think a lot of the different aspects in the episodes before this are really good, really fun, work well. And it's funny because the Forces arc was horrible. It was awful in season 7. But then they do the negative side of it and they tie back into that, and it's really well done. It was sort of weird. It was like this, I guess they are the opposites. It's the negative forces. So, but it's positive opinions from me, while the positive forces garnered negative opinions from me. So weird, bit of a switcheroo if you want to put it. And the final honorable mention is the final ever storyline from the show, that being the Cobalt Blue arc. I don't know if it had, or whatever it's got, a new world, but I just call it the Cobalt Blue arc. Once again, sort of similar to the Negative Forces one. Really enjoyed it, except for like maybe how they wrapped it up. Though I definitely don't like the season 8 finale way more than the season 9 finale, which is of course the series finale. I just didn't like that villain aspect of the series finale, where like they take down the villains in 2 seconds, and it just felt like a waste of time. And it almost felt like it didn't even need to be in the episode, but it was like, fan service, I guess. So it's like, I don't know, can you please everyone? I don't know. But yeah, Cobalt Blue arc, I think it's pretty solid outside of little bits in the ending. So I think it deserves an honorable mention, at least in my opinion, for this list. But yeah, let's move into the top 3. So 2 of these ones are probably pretty obvious. It's maybe just where they lie in the list. But for number 3, which is maybe one that people wouldn't have, or maybe people do have. I don't know if you have in your top 3, you might have in your top 5 or your top 10. But at number 3, I have Armageddon, which of course was the 5-part event, I guess you could say, storyline from the start of season 8 of The Flash, the first 5 episodes, but also trickled into other parts of the season, but it was really contained in those first 5 episodes of season 8. As it's said when mentioning this before, I was excited for this, but I also wasn't too sure what to expect, because when they were sort of promoting this storyline and this start of the season and the event and stuff like that, they definitely did keep the surprises and really what the storyline was going to be a bit secret. That nothing was really hinted at in the trailers outside of showing some of the guest characters from other shows that were going to be in it. So when you get into there, it's a bit surprising in a very good way, and I just thought it was really well done. Once again, sort of similar to the Negative Forces thing, sort of similar to the Cobalt Blue thing. The final episode for this thing is a bit weak. The first 4 episodes are really, really good. The final episode's not bad. It's definitely not bad. It's just not great. It's just a bit of a fall off, and like, it doesn't leave like a sour taste. Be like, oh, maybe that could have been a bit better. Did you have to do this, that, and the other? But overall, Armageddon, great storyline. At number 2, just missing out on number 1. I think there will be probably a mix between people having my number 2 choice as their number 1 and vice versa. But at number 2, I have the Zoom storyline from season 2. Fun from beginning to end. That's pretty much the way to put it. I think the difference with this is that from the number 1 choice, which is obviously the season 1 storyline Reverse Flash, there's no point trying to keep that a secret, but we'll get to that in a second. The difference between that is I think the season 1 storyline as a whole is just a much better storyline as a condensed story and stuff like that. But I must say, week to week, the season 2 storyline is a better experience. That's probably the best way to put it. Like, I think season 2 is a better experience, while the season 1 storyline is just a better storyline as a whole. I think that's the way I would put it, and I think most people would agree with me, but also that might be enough of a reason for people to put it their number 1 rather than me where I put it my number 2. But yeah, obviously at number 1, by process of elimination, we just talked about it. It is most likely very obvious, but at number 1 we have the Cecile and Goldface romance arc from season 10. Of course not. I've sort of spoiled that joke before because I already said that season 1 was going to be the thing. But anyway, I know that Cecile and Goldface thing might be an interesting watch. I don't know. But at number 1 is the Reverse Flash storyline from season 1. As I said, on its just as a single storyline, I think it's clearly the best. But once again, you have to probably balance your experience watching it and everything like that. But I mean, if they turn this storyline into a movie, it would work incredibly well, and also incredibly works well as a just season of television, 23 episodes, which is pretty crazy to think. I think it nails all the different elements, both in the action, the emotion, also setting stuff up for future seasons as well, while also being self-contained at the same time. I think it's the easy choice for number 1, but I wouldn't blame anyone if they pick number 2 for the prior reasonings that I said. So yeah, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I think I've always mentioned that season 1 is my favorite season of the show. But yeah, maybe that could have differed with storyline wise. I don't know. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on the show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on everything we went over this. What are your top storylines from the show? It doesn't have to be a season, but just a storyline. It could be something that only went on for 3 or 4 episodes. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. You can just leave your favorite. Just leave a top 3, top 5, top 10. Top all of them. Maybe you could rank every single storyline. Up to you. And maybe give your opinions on the ones I chose. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. And goodbye.